situation with Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso. It's the same thing. The United States consumes between 25 and 50% of all of the resources and exports that comes out of Africa, Baba David. America can't live without Africa. Neither can Europe. Neither can Asia. These are parasites. America is a parasite on the African continent. The English are a parasite. The French, the Belgians, the Chinese. Every country that comes to Africa comes to take. Nobody comes to give.
So, I mean, so what can we do? You know, what can we do as Africans born here in America? What can we do to try to facilitate strengthening our resources on the continent?
The biggest thing that Black America could do, or Africans in the diaspora collectively, is to organize financially, economically, go to Africa and help build so that we can reduce Africa's dependency on the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the U.S. government, the British government, the French government. It is the debt, it is the loan debt that most African countries are, or many African countries that are in, that keeps them in this situation. Because they are in debt, they are forced to do things that are not in the best interest of their country. Not only do they give you the money, Baba David, they tell you how to spend the money. Think about getting a loan that's putting you into debt so you'll never be able to pay it off, so you can always be controlled, have your politics and economics dictated by the outside. And then on top of that, they tell you how you're going to spend the money, and they tell you who you're going to spend the money with. What kind of a loan? Why would I even want a loan like that?
Well, what happens when they nationalize several of their minerals?
You can't nationalize if it is against the agenda of the Americans, the French and the Brits. That's the whole problem, Baba. They're not going to let you nationalize. That's one of the conditions of the loan. It all depends on what you want to nationalize. But if what you want to nationalize goes against the agenda of the white power structure, you're not nationalizing. They don't want protected African economies. They want dysfunctional and exhausted African economies so they can play Superman, come in, drop off some charity while they walk away with trillions of dollars in your resources. It is the most unfair game in the world, and the reason Africa feels forced to participate in it is because most African countries are not yet ready to create a United States of Africa where they are all federated with one another and where the decisions of the collective body are enforceable upon each state. They need to do exactly what America did with the 50 states because Africa needs to be federated. That's the only way it will generate enough economic power to build the way it needs to build and cut the white man out. Baba David, at least a third of African countries are only the size of maybe 1 or 2 or 3 American states. So you're too small to take on America by yourself. You're too small to take on France by yourself. You're too small to generate the economic activity you need to free yourself from debt and free yourself from needing to constantly ask for loans. You're too small, so you have to federate. And even though you got ECOWAS and all these other regional integrations, there's still not enough political integration. Africa still is not working together nearly enough as they need to. They cooperate more with the white man outside of Africa who's robbing them than they do with their brother and sister states on the continent.
Wow. So now, wasn't there an overload of gold that was found in Uganda or something like that? And whatever happened with that?
Constantly, they're finding resources. But here's the thing. When I hear about a new resource discovery, I don't get excited. Because I know that there's some white company that's coming in or Chinese company that's coming in to exploit it, and that Africa ain't going to get much from it. They get our resources for next to nothing. They get our resources for next to nothing. So that's just like when you see an ad in the newspaper, the Philadelphia Inquirer or Daily News that says the school district of Philadelphia just got a $5 million grant from the Department of Education. I don't get excited for that, Bob, because I know 95 cents out of every dollar goes to these white teachers and these white executives and everything else. That money don't go to our children in the classroom. So, I'm not excited over that stuff because the infrastructure is completely dominated by Caucasians.
Now, in Namibia, the female president there has said that they are going to do all the mining themselves. So what would happen with that?
Well, I hope they stick to it. And even if you're doing the mining yourself, Baba Davis, are you going to refine the minerals yourself? It's one thing to say I'm going to mine my own minerals, but if you're just digging it up and handing it over to the white man, how is that any different? You follow me? Are you going to pay the workers a decent wage, or are you just going to enslave your own people to get these minerals out, and you're still going to hand them over to the white man? It's not just enough to mine, Baba David. You have to be able to refine. Can you refine the minerals and sell them at market value? I don't know if there's an African country right now that's selling their rare resources at market value. I don't know if there's a single one.
Wow. So
it is complete resource rape. Complete resource rape.
So back to Burkina Faso, and they kick France out.
That's why they're pissed off, because Burkina Faso said no more. Ibrahim Traoré said exactly what Thomas Sankara said back in the 1980s before he was assassinated by his so-called best friend. He said no more. You're not coming in here robbing. There's not going to be an unfair exchange relationship here. You know, if you want what we got, you're going to pay market value. It's the same thing that the Honorable Patrice Lumumba talked about, that got him assassinated on the orders of Dwight David Eisenhower, President of the United States. And by the way, Baba, I will be celebrating Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba's 100th Earth Day centennial in Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I've been invited by the government to come and speak for his centennial.
So I may have asked you this before, but are you allowed to take donations from, say, different countries in Africa?
I don't know. If it's a large one, I think the State Department would probably interfere with it.
I mean, because you know, there are. I mean, if Donald Trump family can take contributions from Saudi Arabia, why can't we, as Africans born in America, accept contributions?
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you.
Wow.
And I think we would probably be farther along.
Yes.
You know, had we been thinking like a nation. We don't think or operate like a nation. We think like a bunch of individual, selfish Negroes who actually think they have a future in America without each other. That is the greatest propaganda victory that white America has had over the American Negro. Wow. They have literally convinced us that we are better off going at it alone than organizing with each other, although every other group does it together. We're the only group that does nothing as a group. Nothing. I got some sad news for you, though, Baba. The FDMG, Frederick Douglass High School, was vandalized. It was broken into and vandalized, and they destroyed my 5,000-volume private book collection.
Oh, my God.
While I was debating Arrow Musk, jealous Negroes here in the Delaware Valley broke into our high school and destroyed all of my African cultural artifacts and all of my books. They poured paint all over it and everything.
Oh, my
So my heart is kind of heavy today, but, you know, we got to keep on pushing. We got to keep on pushing because in our high school, Baba David, we have video surveillance.
I was going to ask that.
We don't have enough electricity to get a full-time video private security monitoring like we have on the elementary school. In other words, if you try to break into the elementary school, the police will be there within seconds. The alarms are going to go off. You know, the whole nine. We're like Fort Knox in the Garvey building. But in the Douglas building, as you know, we haven't started our renovations yet, so we're a little, you know, we're a little unprepared there. And unfortunately, some of my enemies took the liberty of me being out of the country and off the continent to go in and destroy my private book collection and my African artifact collection.
I am so upset. What is wrong with these people?
And, of course, the drug addicts, they couldn't wait to see, you know, the opportunity to go in there and smoke. And when I pulled up, Bobby, there was kids running out of my school. I could have cried.
I'm crying
but
right
you know,
now.
If the children know the building is unlocked, that means y'all must have broken there right after I left the country, Bobby.
Oh,
you know, because, you know, children for the child, because they lock the doors off. You know, the door is closed. You wouldn't know unless you pulled on the door. So it's like, how did the children already know? I've only been gone 30 days. So that means they must have broke in not too long after I left the country, you know, and what hurts me the most, though, it's not even a break-in, Baba. What hurts me the most is I'm in a black neighborhood with black people, and not a single black person bothered to call me, text me, or email me and say, Dr. Umar, somebody broke into your school. Ain't nobody do shit. They didn't cover the door up. They didn't try to lock it. I mean, you know, I don't understand that.
I don't
Driving
understand.
by, you notice my school, you see that it's vulnerable, and you don't tell me a damn thing. You know, so that really hurts me, man. That really hurts me. But I'm over it. I can't cry over it. I'm going to miss my books. Lord have mercy. I've been collecting them books my whole life.
Oh, my
You know, I'm going to miss it. But we're going to move on. You know, the building is secure now. The police said that they're now going to keep an eye on it when they drive by. They see anybody sitting there. They moving them on. They will check the doors for me. Anybody get caught trying to break into the school, they're going to jail, and I will be pressing charges. I don't care. I'm pressing charges, and I'm suing folks. You know, so the police, they came, they took a report. Some of the people in the community said they're going to start going by the school every day to pull on them doors, make sure the drug addicts, coons, and haters, you know, are not trying to get back in. I mean, there's nothing in it to take now, Baba. They destroyed everything. I mean, I don't think nobody wanted any books anyway, so I think this was vengeance, Baba, because they really didn't steal anything. They destroyed everything. So they didn't want to read no books. They just destroyed it because it was mine.